He was just a lonely cowboy riding through the plains when he heard two little girls screaming for help. Their tiny feet pounded the dirt, their faces streaked with tears, chased by men who meant them nothing but harm. In that instant, the cowboy didn't think twice. He risked his life and saved them. But what he never expected was what happened the very next day when their mother appeared. In her hands was a reward so strange, so powerful, that it would change the cowboy's life forever. What she gave him shook his very soul. The sun had just begun its descent over the rolling plains, painting the sky in streaks of gold and crimson. When the cowboy rode into the quiet Apache village, his horse's hooves kicked up the dry earth, and a soft wind carried the scent of sage and smoke across the land. The cowboy, a rugged man with a heart hardened by years of solitude, had no idea that the day ahead would change his life forever. He was a man who had learned the ways of survival, whose eyes had witnessed harshness, and whose hands had known the sting of loss. Yet, as he approached the outskirts of the village, a cry reached him, a sound so raw and desperate that it tore through the silence like a blade. Two young girls were running, their small feet pounding the earth, dust swirling around them like a ghostly veil. Their faces were streaked with tears, their clothes tattered, their eyes wide with fear. The cowboy's horse neighed, sensing their terror, and he quickly dismounted, moving swiftly toward them. Without thinking, he held out his hand, the lifeline. In the chaos of their world, the girls stumbled into his grasp, their breaths ragged, their bodies trembling. "What's happened?" the cowboy asked, his voice firm but gentle. They chased us," one of the girls gasped, her small hands clutching the others. "They wanted to hurt us." The cowboy's eyes darkened. He had encountered danger before, but the innocence in their voices, the helplessness in their eyes, pierced him deeper than any blade ever could. He made a decision without hesitation. He would protect them, no matter the cost. He led them to his camp, a modest clearing near a cluster of oaks, where a fire had been prepared, and the air smelled of burning pine. The girls were cautious, hesitant to trust, but hunger and exhaustion overcame their fear. The cowboy offered them water, his hands steady as he watched them drink. He could feel their tension slowly ease, their small bodies finally relaxing. In the warmth of safety, night fell, and the plains were bathed in silver moonlight. The cowboy kept a watchful eye, standing sentinel over the girls as they slept fitfully. Memories of his own childhood, marked by loss and hardship, surfaced. In the quiet moments, he understood the weight of fear, the terror of being alone in a world that could turn cruel without warning. He had saved them from danger, yes, but he knew the world outside his small camp was not forgiving. By morning, the girls were awake, their eyes brighter, their spirits slightly lifted by the security the cowboy had provided. They spoke little, communicating in soft whispers, and he learned their names, Naya and Leela. They told him of their village, their people, and the ruthless men who had pursued them. Their mother, they explained, had been away seeking help when the attack happened, and now they were alone, vulnerable and afraid. The cowboy's heart ached as he listened. He had known women and children had suffered in ways he could scarcely imagine. But hearing the fear in their voices, seeing it reflected in their tear-streaked faces, brought a raw, almost unbearable clarity. These girls were not just children. They were fragments of a world in need of protection, of justice, of compassion. "Stay close," he told them firmly. "You're safe with me now." The hours that followed were a blur of preparation and vigilance. The cowboy taught them simple ways to stay hidden, to move quietly, to sense danger before it arrived. He showed them how to use the land to their advantage, how to read the wind, the tracks, and the signs that most would overlook. There was a rhythm to it, a silent understanding that grew between them, a bond forged in necessity, in trust, and survival. By the afternoon, the girls were laughing softly, their first genuine smiles in days, if not weeks. It was a fragile happiness, but it was real. The cowboy felt a strange warmth in his chest, a connection that went beyond duty or obligation. In their laughter, he saw hope, and in that hope, he found a purpose he had long thought lost. As night approached again, the sudden noise shattered the calm. The rustle of leaves, the snap of a twig. Someone was coming. The cowboy's hand went instinctively to the rifle at his side. He moved toward the noise silently, his senses sharpened, every nerve alert. From the shadows emerged figures, men, masked and armed, intent, unmistakable in their posture. They had come for the girls. Without hesitation, the cowboy stepped between them and the girls, his presence a shield. "Back away," he commanded, his voice low and dangerous. "You'll not touch them." A tense standoff ensued, silence hanging like a heavy shroud over the clearing. The men hesitated, calculating, but the cowboy's unwavering gaze, the quiet certainty in his stance, made them pause. Then, almost as quickly as it had begun, they retreated, vanishing into the night. leaving only the lingering tension and the faint scent of fear. The girls clung to the cowboy, their gratitude unspoken but palpable. He held them close, feeling the fragility of their trust, the depth of their reliance on him. In that moment, he realized that saving them had become more than an act of kindness. It had become a responsibility, a promise he would honor even if it demanded everything he had. Morning broke again, calm and quiet, but the cowboy's thoughts were unsettled. He knew that danger was never far behind, that the world outside their small camp would always test their resilience. Yet, there was a strange sense of anticipation in the air, an unspoken knowledge that their lives were about to shift in ways none of them could predict. As he prepared a simple breakfast, the sound of approaching footsteps caught his attention. The girls tensed, but he signaled for them to remain calm. Through the trees emerged a woman, tall, dignified, her eyes a mirror of both sorrow and determination. She was the mother of Naya and Leela, and as she approached, the cowboy felt the weight of her gaze, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and something else he could not yet discern. She spoke not a word at first, merely extending her hands. In them was an object wrapped in cloth, heavy with mystery. The cowboy took it cautiously, his curiosity battling his instinct to remain wary. The girls watched with wide eyes, sensing the significance of the moment. Finally, the woman spoke. "For your courage, for saving my daughters." Her voice trembled, yet there was steel beneath the emotion. The cowboy's heart pounded as he unwrapped the cloth, revealing a gift unlike any he had ever seen. Something that carried with it a weight of history, of gratitude, of a promise unspoken. In that instant, the plains seemed to hold their breath. The wind stilled, the birds fell silent, and even the fires seemed to flicker with anticipation. The cowboy stared at the object, his mind racing with questions, with awe, with an undeniable sense of destiny. What had he been given? Why now? And most importantly, what did it mean for the lives of the girls, for himself, for the world he had thought he knew? The mother's eyes locked with his, and in them, he saw the answer. This was no ordinary reward. It was a turning point, a force that would ripple through their lives in ways none of them could yet imagine. The cowboy's grip tightened, his mind alive with both fear and hope, and he realized that the story of that day of bravery, of trust, of survival was only just beginning. And so, beneath the fading light of the sunset, with two young girls by his side and a mysterious gift in his hands, the cowboy stood on the edge of a future that promised wonder, danger, and a truth so powerful it could shake the very soul of the plains itself. His eyes lingered on the object, its weight both literal and metaphorical pressing into his palms. He could feel the energy in the air shift, the soft rustle of leaves carrying a tension that spoke of secrets long buried and promises long kept. The mother's gaze never wavered. It held an intensity that made him instinctively aware that whatever lay wrapped in that cloth was not just a token of gratitude, it was a bridge between lives, between worlds, and between choices he had yet to make. The girls, Naya and Leela, watched their mother with wide, apprehensive eyes. Their small hands remained entwined, a silent pact of courage, their breaths shallow with anticipation. "What is it, Mama?" Naya asked softly, her voice barely breaking the heavy stillness of the evening. Asterisk, the woman's lips curved in a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "You will see soon enough," she said, her tone both reassuring and loaded with meaning. With deliberate care, she gestured for the cowboy to follow her. Curiosity and caution warred within him, but the responsibility he felt toward these girls anchored his steps. They followed her through the uneven terrain, the moonlight casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to whisper secrets of their own. Finally, they arrived at a secluded grove, hidden behind a wall of oaks where the wind carried a hushed, almost reverent silence. There, she knelt and carefully unfolded the cloth. The cowboy leaned closer, his breath caught in his throat. Inside was a small chest, intricately carved, the craftsmanship unlike anything he had ever seen. The patterns etched into the wood told stories of generations past, symbols of strength, resilience, and unspoken traditions. His fingers itched to touch it, to unravel its mystery, but he restrained himself, waiting for the mother's permission. "This belonged to my ancestors," she said, her voice trembling as if the weight of history itself rested on her words. "It has been passed down for centuries, but it is not a gift lightly given. You saved my daughters' lives, and in doing so, you have proven that your heart can carry the legacy within this chest." The cowboy's eyes widened. The significance of her words sank deep into his chest. This was no ordinary reward. It was a key to knowledge, to power, and perhaps even to danger. He realized that the act of saving two young girls had unknowingly entwined him in a story much larger than himself, a story that demanded courage, wisdom, and an unbreakable resolve. Naya and Leela stepped forward cautiously, peering into the chest as though they could sense its importance. Their mother guided their small hands to its edge, allowing them a glimpse of the treasures within. It was a collection of delicate ornaments, ceremonial tokens, and old scrolls, each one pulsating with a history that seemed almost alive. The cowboy could feel the weight of generations pressing down upon him, a silent urging to protect, to honor, and to understand. "You must promise," the mother said, locking eyes with him, "that you will keep this safe, not for wealth, not for fame, but for the future of those who cannot protect themselves. This chest carries more than gold or jewels, it carries the essence of a people, their sacrifices, their wisdom, and their trust." The cowboy swallowed hard, the gravity of her words settling into the deepest corners of his mind. He nodded solemnly, feeling an unfamiliar warmth rise within his chest, a mix of pride, awe, and fear. He was a man who had faced countless trials, yet never had he been entrusted with something so sacred, so profound. As night deepened, the mother rose and embraced her daughters, her arms tight around them, conveying love, relief, and an unspoken warning. "You are safe now," she whispered, "but remember, life can change in a heartbeat. Always stay close, always trust those who prove their heart." She turned to the cowboy once more, her eyes glistening in the silver moonlight. "You have proven that a true heart exists in the most unlikely places. May this reward guide you as it has guided generations before you." The cowboy carefully closed the chest, feeling a sense of reverence he had never known. It was more than a gift, it was a responsibility, a calling he could not ignore. Yet, alongside the pride and gratitude, a question lingered. Why had she brought this chest to him? What did she see in him that warranted such trust? The answers were not immediate, but he knew they would reveal themselves in time, in ways both beautiful and dangerous. The girls, now calm and secure, nestled close to their mother, their small hands gripping hers as though anchoring themselves to the safety they had found. The cowboy watched them, his mind reflecting on the day's events, the terror, the chase, the fear, and now, the fragile peace. He realized that in saving them, he had not only changed their lives but also altered the course of his own existence. Days passed, and the cowboy became a constant presence in their village. He taught the girls to ride, to navigate the plains safely, and to recognize danger before it struck. With every lesson, every shared laugh, and every silent watch over them at night, the bond between them deepened. The chest remained close, a silent reminder of the mother's words, of the responsibility he bore, and of the unknown trials yet to come. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fire, the mother approached him once more. She spoke softly, almost as if afraid to disturb the calm. "There are those who would seek to take this from you," she said, her gaze steady. "The world is not always kind to those who protect what is sacred. You must be ready, and you must be vigilant." The cowboy's jaw tightened. Danger had already brushed close, but now it was clear that their safety depended on more than courage. It depended on foresight, strategy, and an unwavering heart. He could feel the weight of the chest pressing against his conscience, a constant reminder that the act of saving Naya and Leela had set in motion forces far beyond the reach of any ordinary man. That night, as he lay beneath the vast expanse of stars, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here, the chase, the fear, the relief, and the trust bestowed upon him. He knew the road ahead would test him in ways he could not yet imagine, but, for the first time in years, he felt a purpose that transcended survival. He was no longer just a lone cowboy roaming the plains, he was a guardian, a protector, a keeper of legacies. And yet, even in the quiet, a question gnawed at him. What did the mother truly see in him? Was it merely gratitude, or was there something more profound? Something that would unravel in ways that could shock not only him, but the entire village. The anticipation lingered, heavy and relentless, a silent promise that the next chapter of their lives would be filled with revelations, tests, and truths that none of them could yet comprehend. In the distance, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the faint echoes of history, of secrets, and of a destiny intertwined with courage and sacrifice. The cowboy tightened his grip on the chest, feeling the pulse of generations beneath his fingers, and understood one undeniable truth. The reward was only the beginning. What lay ahead would challenge their hearts, their minds, and their very souls. And as the moon climbed high, casting its silver glow over the plains, the cowboy knew that the story of saving Naya and Leela, of the mysterious reward, and of the legacy entrusted to him, was far from over. It was a story that would ripple through time, through lives, through the hearts of all who dared to witness it. And he, the unlikely hero of that tale, would have to rise to meet it, with courage, wisdom, and a heart that could withstand the weight of the unimaginable. The days that followed blurred into a fragile rhythm. The cowboy stayed close to the girls and their mother, his watchful eyes scanning every horizon, every shadow that dared to move in the night. The chest remained hidden in his cabin, yet its presence lingered in every moment, like a silent heartbeat reminding him of the trust he carried. He had saved two children, yes, but what had come with them was far greater than he could have ever imagined. One evening, as the plains were drenched in the orange glow of sunset, the mother approached him once more. She carried herself with the same quiet strength, yet her eyes betrayed a depth of sorrow that even time could not soften. "You wonder why I chose you," she said softly, her gaze fixed on the fading sun. "There were many who could have been given the chest, many who share my blood. But when you stood before those men, when you put your life between their cruelty and my daughter's innocence, I knew." The cowboy listened, his silence heavier than words. "You carry a heart that does not ask for reward," she continued. "That is why you were given one. Not for what you wanted, but for what you already proved you are." Her words struck deep. He thought of the long years he had wandered alone, hardened by loss, keeping his distance from the world. Yet now, two children leaned on him, a mother trusted him, and a legacy rested in his hands. For the first time in his life, he felt the weight of belonging, of being needed in ways that stretched beyond himself. That night, as the stars glittered above, danger returned. The same men who had chased the girls emerged from the darkness, their eyes greedy, their weapons gleaming in the firelight. They had come not only for the children but for the chest. The cowboy rose, his rifle steady, his body unshaken. Behind him, Naya and Leela clung to their mother, fear in their eyes but trust in their hearts. The men sneered, mocking his solitary stance, but he did not falter. The chest was not his alone to protect, it was the soul of a people, a promise to the future, and the gratitude of a mother who had trusted him with everything she held dear. The fight was swift and merciless. The cowboys' courage burned brighter than their greed, and when the dust finally settled, silence fell once again across the plains. The men were gone, their shadows swallowed by the night, and the fire's glow returned to its steady warmth. Exhausted but unbroken, the cowboy turned to the family. The girls rushed into his arms, their small voices trembling with relief. Their mother stood behind them, her eyes filled with tears that caught the starlight. She whispered words he would never forget. "You are not just the man who saved my daughters. You are now part of us." In that moment, the cowboy understood. The chest was not only a reward, it was a bond, a bridge between two worlds that had once stood apart. By saving two young girls, he had unknowingly saved a legacy, and in return, he had been given something greater than any gold or treasure: trust, family, and purpose. As dawn broke over the endless plains, the cowboy saddled his horse. The girls waved, their laughter carrying across the morning air, and their mother watched with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. He would ride on, for the land always called him forward, but now he carried more than a rifle and a saddlebag. He carried a chest heavy with history, and a heart forever changed by two children, their mother, and the strange reward that had reshaped his soul. And as the sun rose, the cowboy knew that no matter where his journey led, he would never again be the lonely rider he once was. He had been given a gift that could not be stolen, a gift that lived in the trust of those he had saved, and in the story that would echo across the plains for generations to come. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Legacy Ignited for more powerful tales. Your likes and comments mean the world. They keep these stories alive and help them reach more souls. And if you truly believe in the power of stories to change hearts, make sure to share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for being part of this journey. And remember, every story we tell is a legacy ignited.